Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the Strategic Priorities Communication and Intergovernmental Cooperation Committee meeting for Tuesday, October 10th. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Are there any declarations of conflict of interest? Seeing none, could I have an approval of the agenda? Moved by Mayor Brown, seconded by Deputy Mayor Yankoff. So looking at the approval of the minutes for September 28th and October 3rd, could I get approval of those minutes? Moved by Deputy Mayor Yankoff, seconded by Mayor Brown. Any business arising from those minutes? I did see one thing. It was the letter brought forward by Minister Fraser, Sean Fraser. On page 2, it says brought forward by Minister Ferris. And I think that might be a typo. I know Sean Ferris is an accomplished musician here in Charlottetown, but I don't think he's very up to date on the housing status and the Housing Accelerator Fund. So that might be a change that we might want to make.
Good on you there, Mr. Chair. Huh?
Yeah.
I read the minutes, never read them that close.
Good constituent of Ward 3 years too, Sean Ferris. Yes.
So on that issue, Mr. Chair, will you be addressing that tonight in council? Or do you have your speaking notes for it?
Which
On the letter to Minister
it
Sean
will-
Fraser? Or does
it
that go
will-
through the Chair of Planning?
Yeah, it's our committee.
Okay. You'll be ready to.
I'll be ready.
Thank you, sir.
I'll be as ready as I can. Yeah. No other business arising from the minutes, so moving on to our reports. We'll begin with, amendments to our procedural bylaw. CAO Eleanor, if you would like to take over.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this item is really regarding updating the procedural bylaw to add some new items within it. One is to enable the Committee of the Whole, and more detail about the Committee of the Whole is in the attached report, the attached terms of reference that has a little bit more detail around what will happen at Committee of the Whole. The update also includes a section on education sessions, and that's to enable onboarding and ongoing education sessions for elected members. The Municipal Government Act doesn't contemplate education sessions. It only contemplates council meetings, but an education session, we need to make it distinct, simply that it's not an open public session like a council meeting would be, but it's also very explicit of what can happen in the education session. So you can't conduct council business, you can't have debates, you can't instruct like you normally would in a council meeting. So that's education sessions, and then we also added a couple of things throughout the document just for some small governance clarity kind of items. And then the final one is notice of motions, and this was to address the challenge of the procedural bylaw says that a committee has to consider a motion, and you have to have a staff report before it can be considered by council, but up until now there was no mechanism of how do you actually get that motion in front of council or through committee. So the notice of motion allows for notice to come when an elected official wants to make a motion, and then it will go through the appropriate committee after that council meeting, and then come back to council with a recommendation from staff and from that committee. And that's really just a high-level summary of what the changes are, and I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions from members of the committee? Mayor Brown, Deputy Mayor Yankoff?
Mr. Chair, so if I look at section 5.6, Committee of Council, is there a reason that we want to change it to the Committee of the Whole? Like, I'm just trying to understand the difference between the two. Madam Chair, or Mr. Chair, through the
Go ahead.
CAO.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair, through to your worship. So the difference between Committee of the Whole and Council, It's more explicitly, like if you turn to the terms of reference for our committees, there's more information in there about committee of the whole. But the distinct difference is, and why you would need a committee of the whole versus council, is council's a very formal environment where a motion is made, you debate that motion, then you approve. A committee of the whole is more like one of our other committees, which is where you can discuss ideas and policies and programs in more detail in a less formal environment. A good example would be, say there's a policy that you're working on, it's not ready for decision yet, but you want different elected officials to be able to have some input into it for staff to take away and work on it further. That's a way that you could use committee of the whole versus council. You can't really use it that way.
So, Mr. Chair, so this is a notice of motion, correct? This is just to raise a flag with the council that this is coming forward in tonight's meeting, or this is not coming forward tonight? No.
No.
No. Okay, great. Then could I just ask another question, Mr. Chair? So committee of the whole, could I, or if I said committee of council, the meeting that you're proposing, or we're proposing on getting a trainer to come in and speak to EID, equity, inclusion, diversity, would that be a committee of the whole, that it's opened or is closed? Just trying to get clarification.
Go ahead, Ellen.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So that would fall under education sessions. So that is, it's not a meeting that's open to the public. It's not a meeting of council. It's just elected officials coming together for education on different types of topics. So you wouldn't debate anything in there. It's more of like a one-way interaction of receiving information. And that's why we had to create that separate section for education sessions.
So just last question, Mr. Chair, and this question is, so committee of the whole is that we're not in council, so if we do make a decision at the committee of the whole, can we go out of the committee of the whole into a meeting of council to pass a resolution that was discussed and agreed to by the committee of the whole?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. These are great questions. Technically, yes, but you wouldn't be in a council meeting and then say we're going into committee of the whole and then come out. So your committee of the whole is open, and it follows the exact same rules as all the other committees. So you can't go into closed meeting unless you meet those requirements under the MGA. So technically, could you have a committee of the whole meeting and then follow it with a council meeting? Yes, absolutely.
Wouldn't you have to give like 24 hours advance notice on that? And like
Sure.
to go in and out? Like, I don't know if, I would think that could get a little muddled
So,
myself.
Mr. Chair, for both, you have to follow the same rules that you do for all your agendas. So if you're going to have a committee of the whole meeting and then a council meeting, you'd have two different agendas advertised or posted 24 hours
Right.
the day before, two
Okay,
different agendas.
kind of like an open and closed agenda, or
Yeah.
same, where we have to post open and closed agendas.
Yeah. So education sessions, you don't
Right.
need to post those because it's not a council meeting.
Yeah.
It's not committee, it's not a committee meeting.
We're not resolving
It's just an
anything.
education session.
And the reason I bring this up, Mr. Chair, because when I was on council from 2000 to 2006, we would have committee of the whole meetings here at 9 o'clock at night and then just switch over to a council meeting, open the doors, and pass resolutions. With the Municipal Government Act, that's not allowed. So whether it's a committee meeting or it's a council meeting, there always has to be 24-hour notice on what we're speaking. That's why I'm just trying to get that clarification. If we've already given the notice for 24 hours and we come out of that meeting with a resolution that we want to move forward, that we just couldn't go into council and into an open meeting of council and say, let's put this on the table and deal with it now.
Okay.
Is that good, CAO?
So, Mr. Chair, it'd be the
Sure.
same as any other committee. So you know how sometimes we have Human Resources Committee meeting right before a council meeting? That's how you would treat it.
Okay. I had a question on page 28 under regular meeting of council. The council shall hold a meeting on the first and fourth Monday of the month. Currently, under our current arrangement, we're second and fourth. So second is regular council, fourth is special And we're basically looking to get rid of special council meetings, call it a regular council meeting, because that's effectively what it's become. So it makes sense. But I'm wondering whether should we have second and fourth written in here as opposed to first and fourth, because we're running back, effectively back to back, fourth Monday, first Monday.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So what's being proposed here is that, I'd have to find that page again. So it said the first and the fourth, is that correct?
That's what it says
Right.
on page 28.
Because in the terms of reference for the committee of the whole, what's being proposed is that the second week is a committee of the whole meeting. So you have a council meeting on the first week, committee of the whole meeting on the second week, and then the fourth week is another council meeting. So there's essentially 3 meetings regularly scheduled per month. And we're still going to have special meetings. They're just not going to be planned special meetings. Like, the point of a special meeting is you call a special meeting to address a certain topic. So what's been a regularly scheduled special meeting will now just be a regular meeting of council.
Okay.
And it's being proposed that we hold it regularly because we've been filling and using this special meeting quite regularly for some time now. So it's really a regular meeting of
Pretty
council.
much, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just to clarify, Mr. Chair, so a regular monthly meeting for every month is the second Monday.
Yeah.
Second Monday of the month. And now you're saying you want to put in the procedural bylaw that there will be a regular meeting on the fourth Monday of every month.
So, thank you, Mr. Chair, and through to your worship. So, what's being proposed here is regular council meeting first week of the month.
No, it's second Monday.
First, no, this is the new proposal.
This is the new proposal. So, regular council meeting the first week of the month, regular committee of the whole meeting the second meeting of the month, then you have a week off the third week, and then the fourth is another regular council meeting. So that would be the cycle, monthly cycle meeting.
So will the committee of the whole be almost like what our special council meeting is right now, and that it would be as required? Are we just putting in a provision to allow for it to happen on the second Monday of every month, or are we saying every second Monday of the month we're going to have a committee of the whole meeting? So, just want to clarify the wording on that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So what we're saying is every second week of the month would be a scheduled committee of the whole meeting. If you didn't have enough items to hold the meeting, then you would just cancel the meeting, but it would be held in the calendar in case you need it. So, and where you want to go for details for what actually happens at committee of the whole, it's on page 77 in my package, but it's in the terms of reference for committees. So the committee of the whole can conduct non-statutory public hearings or meetings, so you can have delegations come in and present to you, and you can hear. You can receive information on administration, on emerging items, and we'd want items that cover the whole city or more than one topic. So these are for items that you wouldn't necessarily be sending through individual committees. So I'm trying to think of something recent. We often get requests for people to come in and make presentations to council.
Basic income guarantee.
This would be where they would come and make their presentations to all the members who are with council, but it would be in committee of the whole. So we often struggle when we get these requests of, I want to make a presentation, but it doesn't quite fit in a committee, and it doesn't fit in a formal council area either. So the place where that presentation would belong would be committee of the whole. Another great example of committee of the whole and how we can use it is this year's budget process. So as part of budget process, you have workshops. So committee of the whole gives that kind of format where staff can come in and make presentations. You can have more informal conversations about what's being proposed,
Right.
And then eventually the committee
Do
of the
them all in
whole.
one fell swoop sort of thing.
That's right. And committee of the whole, just like any other regular committee, makes recommendations to council. So if something came out of committee of the whole that we felt council needed to make a resolution on, you can organize that through that committee, just like any other committee you'd be
Right.
working with.
Yeah, I just always like to go back to the history of this chamber, Mr. Chair, and where history stands is that it was always the second Monday of the month, and that's my preference is to keep the second Monday of the month because it's. I think I'd have to get the history on it. I think some of the, like Summerside, City of Summerside has their regular monthly meeting on the first Monday. I think there was a reason for publication and probably who's going to stand out the loudest, whether it be Summerside or Charlottetown, but we always know it'll be Charlottetown. And I just, again, that's my preference. So this is just a discussion right now that we can look at it further at the next meeting, or what's the process? Mr. Chair?
Go ahead, CEO.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and through to your worship. These dates, if you'd like it to be the second and like a different pattern of dates, that's completely okay. The goal is to get this through and approved prior to the workshops for budget in November. But if you'd like to keep the council meetings on the second, and then we can make the third week committee of the whole, and then the fourth week is regular council meeting, that's totally fine as well.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not trying to take over your role, but Mr. Chair, during
You're free
budget,
to speak, say whatever you
but during
feel.
budget during the budget process, we will have lots of meetings. There will be lots of special meetings called because of the importance of the budget process. And I don't want to get tied down to a committee of the whole meeting. When we go through this budget process, as the deputy remembers, we would have weeks where we'd have meetings every 2 or 3 days of that week just to get it through.
But we still have the provision for special council meetings, and we still have the provision.
Yes, we do.
Now we're adding provision for committee of the whole.
Yes.
Correct.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is just adding something extra
Yeah.
into our toolbox.
Yeah.
That perhaps better fits some of the things we've been attempting to do, but then don't really fit anywhere.
Yeah.
The dates are totally fine. So if this committee wants to change to the dates, the second and the fourth being regular council meeting, third one, committee of the whole, completely fine. That's a change we can make and then bring it back. And
So one of the things I've had discussions about you is changing it from a Monday to a Tuesday. Reason I see benefit in that is because oftentimes we get our package on Friday. We don't have time to seek clarifying questions, which could be answered. There might be some questions that we might be answering in council that could be answered much more easily with professional staff or with colleagues, whatever it might be. So just as we're going, I understand what the mayor's saying about the dates, and I'm fine with second, third, and fourth. It doesn't really matter to me. But I'm wondering about shifting it to a Tuesday. I don't want to throw too much of a wrinkle into it, but I think there is merit in looking at that because it gives us a little bit more time to prepare whatever information, get any clarifying questions that we may have that may not have to be asked in here, that could be resolved at a different level. So I would throw that out there for consideration, and I don't know what the fellow members of this committee think of that or what the CAO thinks of that, but I'd throw that out for public consumption. Deputy Mayor? Sorry?
Thank you. Thank you, Chair. Just circling back a little bit to the first Monday versus the second Monday, and it doesn't really matter one way or the other. Would it not matter because of the committee structures and there's only so much window of time to get all of the standing committee meetings in? And if we switched it from the first Monday to the second Monday, does that not mess up that whole ability to get all the committee meetings in and reports completed for the first monthly meeting of council?
CEO Wallner?
thank you, Mr. Chair. I think what when we're adding a second regular meeting to the month, it adds a little bit more flexibility in terms of how we schedule all those other committee meetings. I can also say right now that what's supposed to be our regular scheduled committee meetings aren't really regularly scheduled at all. They seem to be all over the place. So what it does by having these extra dates available to us, so if you have a committee meeting that you're preparing for, maybe you're trying to get to the first council meeting of the month, if you miss that for whatever reason, there's another regular council meeting that you can bring it to as well. So you have a little bit more flexibility.
So in the past, we would have had to wait till the second Monday of every month to officially pass the resolutions. We couldn't do that. So now that it would be rebranded as a regular meeting, we have the ability to execute twice a month the full scale of options available to us. I
That's
guess is
correct,
really
Mr. Chair.
really the difference, right?
That's right.
Oh, actually, Mr. Chair, special meeting, you can pass a resolution. You don't have to wait for the
Yeah,
regular
but
monthly
we
meeting.
wouldn't do committee reports or anything like that at the special meetings. It would be more just dealing with motions. Now, if we have this regular council meeting, strategic priorities, which would normally be, say, the third week, could be presented at the fourth meeting of the month, or the fourth Monday of the month, as opposed to having to wait till the second Monday of the month. So it could be presented on a more regular interval. So it kind of speaks to what the deputy mayor was saying, that we don't have to worry so much about when the meetings actually happen, because it could be captured at the second Monday, or first Monday of the month, or it could be captured at the fourth Monday of the, or whatever dates we arrive on. Let's say it's the second, third, and the fourth. We would go with whatever committee report had to be done at that time, and then on the fourth, we do whatever committee report had to be done at that time too. If I'm understanding it correctly.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. That's correct.
Okay. Deputy Mayor?
Thank you.
Councillor McKinnon, we haven't forgotten about you. We'll give you a chance to speak here in a minute if you have something to say.
Thank you, Chair. I'm not opposed to change. Change can be good as long as it's not just change for the sake of change. And I see a lot of good opportunities from this, but I also see a huge educational piece for the public. I mean, the public historically has known for many, many years that the second Monday of every month is when they might hear their planning file, or they might hear something from protective services, like it's always consistently there. So if we implement all these changes, I just see another piece for the public to understand too. What do you think?
Well, I think with any change, there comes some learnings that have to come with it. I don't think they're insurmountable. I would think it would be, we do have a comms department that can work towards messaging that, getting it out. I think it's kind of when you make the change, whatever the change is, takes a period of becoming a little bit more accustomed to it. But I wouldn't see that as being a barrier to not proceeding. I think it would just be a matter of allowing the adjustment to take place over time, and I think we could use our comms department to facilitate that process, would be my thought anyway. Go ahead.
And just a follow-up, do you anticipate, like, for example, when we get our monthly planning package on a Friday afternoon, like this month it's 540 pages, are you imagining that this is going to streamline and give counselors more time so that they're better prepared? 540 pages is a lot for over the weekend.
Yeah.
If you're reading your package.
Yes.
Wondering if there was any kind of thoughts considered on that.
Well, I think it would chunk that up some and allow us to not be dealing with such a massive package at one time. I know I find it, I kind of shudder when I get the emails from Tracy. Oh, geez, here we go, another massive package to go through. So if that's chunked up and we're able to digest it, I think it's a little bit more, it's a lot of reading to do for one meeting. And I think if it's spread over a few meetings, and even if there's in committee of the whole, there might be some, maybe even less reading you might have to do. Because one of the frustrations that I find, personally speaking, is that I'm reading information about a matter that took place that I was not engaged in. And you miss a lot of the nuances, you miss a lot of the reading the room, that sort of thing that can take place. So I see benefit in committee of the whole. I see benefit in chunking it up and having our smaller packages for us to digest at any particular meeting. So I think whatever potential barriers might come with learning a new system, I think they would be surmountable. And I think there would be, and again, at the end of the day, our goal is to provide better governance. And we always know what we have, and if it doesn't work, we can go back to it. So I don't think there's a risk. I'm all for trying things that'll make us better, that'll make us more efficient, and make us serve the public in a more productive and better way. Councillor McKinnon, I'd like to give you a chance to chime in. Councillor McKinnon has joined our meeting by phone. Is there anything that you wanted to add?
I guess no. Thank you, Mr. Chair. I had a couple of questions there, but they were answered in great detail. And we go back. Are we putting in place like a trial period for 6 months, or we just wait to see what's down the road before deciding to keep it or not keep it?
So you're just questioning about whether we go with a pilot of this to, is that what you're asking?
Yeah. A pilot for a short term, or just kind of curious, are we just going to kind of, go with it and see what happens? I was also in favor of you had made mention of going on Tuesday night to give us more time for the packages, so that would be beneficial, I think, to all councillors.
Okay.
So,
Mayor Brown?
That's all.
Thank you for that.
Mr. Chair, if you talk about changes to this chamber, that camera right up there has made the biggest change to this chamber long before any of us arrived, because now everything is open, transparent, and accountable. And so what any of us say on this floor when that camera is on, it's being projected through YouTube throughout the world, and your words are on record, and people will follow up on your words. So I think our transparency and our change has been turned around, or has gone a 180 with this technology. And, we have now the opportunity to provide councillors, staff to call in from anywhere of the world and participate in our council meetings. But the committee of the whole in other jurisdictions, those committee of the whole meetings can go 10 hours, 12 hours. Like they try to bring all the items to council, as you said, so everyone is informed about what's going on in the different departments of the municipal government. And that's, again, I know our director of community services doesn't like hearing, working outside the silos, but I think, we're doing a much better job in working outside of the silos. And in terms of the packages of 500 pages, or like you recall the package that we received from the provincial government on the OPS, their package was, I think, 280 pages with the two documents that they presented. And so we're getting a lot more information. Are we able to digest everything? No, but I think you're able to, as students of post-secondary education, you can't, you try to consume or digest as much as you can, but if you can get it all done, great. It's just, I think that
It's
when
a
we-
lot.
It's a lot. And you know what? We're being asked to do a lot more because of the issues that we face today: mental health crisis, drug addiction crisis, abuse of alcohol, socioeconomic causes of unemployment, the unhoused. So it's a lot of issues that are taking place, which require a lot more information. But I've always said, Mr. Chair, this council, this city has not been afraid to talk about it. We're able to bring it up and discuss it and hopefully find solutions. And that's why I like this 6B, advocating legislative change to enable a greater housing supply. That is action. So, Mr. Chair, I'm going back to, I like the second Monday, or you like the Tuesday, the fourth Monday, or the fourth Tuesday, and then the committee of the whole in between. But on a regular monthly meeting, I've never experienced where we have canceled a regular monthly meeting of council. So just be prepared that if we don't have enough, like that second regular monthly meeting, the fourth Monday, if that doesn't happen, that, to me that implies business is not coming in. So that's why I I shouldn't say never liked. I thought that the fourth Monday was just a conventional deal that we all agreed to, that it didn't have to be incorporated into our bylaw, because when it's incorporated to the procedural bylaw, there is an expectations on our part to hold that regular monthly meeting on both the second and the fourth, whether it's the Tuesday, the Monday, or the Tuesday. And then if you enshrine or you incorporate committee of the whole as a third week, that's an obligation on our part to, make sure that we have something on the agenda. Or if you start canceling them, I don't know what kind of message it sends out.
You asking me? You asking Eleanor?
No, I'm just asking. I'm
give
asking
my-
all of us.
Yeah, I guess my personal take on that is, I don't want to create a meeting just because to say that we have to have a meeting. I think what we have to do is build in time slots and build in capacities to have those meetings. And if there is a particular Monday that does not require a regular meeting, or it's going to be coming in that we just say we're going to have a meeting just for the sake of having a meeting, and there's really nothing of substance to discuss, I don't really see any value in that personally. But I think what we're trying to accomplish here, correct me if I'm wrong, Eleanor, is we're trying to build the capacity to allow for these to happen. And by changing it from a special meeting to a regular meeting, it gives us a little more capacity to conduct business that maybe we otherwise would not have been able to conduct during that time in the past, traditionally. And the other part is we're building in the capacity to have committee of the whole. And if we have committee of the whole, we've allowed it in our procedural bylaw to do so. And if we don't have to have it, again, we don't meet on that third Monday or third Tuesday, whatever it might be. I think there seems to be consensus that we go second, third, and fourth as opposed to.
I agree, but again,
Yeah. So I think if there's the committee of the whole seems to be, in my line of thinking, seems to be kind of what our special meeting is kind of doing right now, where we're gathering that information, we're allowing for presentations to come in, we're having the opportunity to do informal exchanges, but we're not resolving anything. We are just gathering. It's allowing us as a group to hear the message in a unified manner, and to hear it all at the same time. So we're not relying on reading a secondhand report or a secondhand presentation. Everyone gets that relevant information at the same time, which I see as being advantageous. That's where I kind of like these changes that are being proposed. I think it gives us a little bit more flexibility. And again, for me, I look at it, does it allow us to provide for better governance? I think it does. CAO, Ellen?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll have one point, but I just want to sum up what I've heard that I'll take away and make changes. So, regular council meeting will be on the second and fourth week. Committee of the whole will be on the third week. And we're going to change from Monday to Tuesdays.
That's what I
Is
would,
that what I'm
Yeah.
taking away?
that's what I would like.
Okay, and the second point that or the point I wanted to make about the second regular meeting a month, another benefit of that is the municipality right now is actively trying to find ways to speed up housing approval processes. So this allows this kind of business to be conducted twice a month in terms of approvals through council for planning applications for housing as well. Thank you.
So, Mr. Chair,
Go ahead.
I know your academic background, and you would refer to the dictionary as, giving some guidance to what does regular defined as? Even, formal, orderly, uniform, habitual, established, fixed. So they become we'll have two fixed dates, and for you to say, well, no, if we don't have the meeting on the fourth Monday, that shouldn't be an issue. It's a fixed meeting for municipal business. So if we're going to make it 2 days, two Mondays or 2 Tuesdays of the month, then we have to be prepared to have a fixed date where we would do regular business for the city of Charlottetown. I'd never experienced that we canceled a regular monthly meeting of council in the past, and if we did, it was probably because of extreme climatic conditions. So, again, when you formalize these events or these meetings, it becomes a duty on our part to ensure that we do provide information in a regular meeting setting. Special meetings can be held anytime. That's why I'm a advocate of special meetings, because they can be called within 24 hours. You can deal with issues that have to be dealt with. And government has told us at provincial and federal levels that we take too much time to get decisions made. Special meetings allow to come together, make a decision, move on. So I think that a regular meeting for the first Tuesday or the second Monday or the second Tuesday, and the second or the fourth Monday, the fourth Tuesday, there's an obligation on our part to fulfill that we are meeting with a fixed date to get business done for the city.
I'm fine with that. I'm fine with having having both as regular council meetings. And if our fourth meeting or our second meeting is short or is not, doesn't, yeah, I mean, I don't think we should be worried about that. I think what we should be worried about is whether we have the mechanisms in place in order to give us the flexibility to do stuff like this. Like CAO Eleanor said, we're getting a lot of pressure to deal with things in an expedient manner. If we have regular meetings, we can do that. Gives us another option to conduct our business in a more expedient manner. So, whether it's called a special meeting, I think calling it a regular meeting allows us to do a little bit more business more quickly and more efficiently. So, I think and if whatever we haven't have we canceled a special meeting? Not since I've been here.
Yeah, we have canceled them. We've canceled them. The special meeting
many.
is usually a call from the CAO and the office of the mayor.
The fourth Monday of the month.
No, that was never considered as a special meeting. It was always considered as a regular meeting, but not in our
Not in our procedural
bylaw. But we have canceled that fourth meeting.
Geez, not very many. I don't remember any that have been canceled. So I don't think there would be a lack of content for meetings to be had. I think, again, I'm sounding repetitive, but I think what it does is it gives us greater flexibility to provide more effective governance. And I guess that's why I would be supportive of the changes. But that's just me speaking.
Well said.
Quit pushing buttons there, right? All right, so does this require a motion for us to go through, or just are you going to come back with a revised procedural bylaw based on the information that you garnered from here? And will it come back to this committee again, or we will, come back here and then we would either recommend that it go on to council or not?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think that's a question for the committee. So if I make those changes from the Monday to the Tuesday,
Yep.
and the regular council meeting in the second and the fourth weeks, and then committee of the whole is the third, and it's in the terms of reference. So that committee of the whole is not in the procedural bylaw as the third meeting, it's just
Right.
in the terms of reference. If I make those changes, is this committee comfortable moving this forward to council based on that? Or would you like to further discuss different items in here? Because that would determine whether it comes back to committee, or we just take it straight through to council based on these changes.
Those were the only things that I saw as possible changes. I didn't see anything else. I don't know if the deputy mayor or Councillor McKinnon or the mayor have anything else that you would like to add?
No, I'd like to have it come back to the committee with the changes.
The system has detected that a few lines are still connected to the conference and will attempt to disconnect them. If you wish to remain in the conference, please press star 1. 15. To dial out, please dial the area code and number that you wish to connect to the conference, followed by the pound sign. Press star to return to the conference.
Councillor McKinnon, are you there?
Yeah, everything went quiet there, but I'm still here.
Okay. So I'm fine with those, moving this on with those proposed changes that have been outlined here today. Mayor Brown, Deputy Mayor?
I'm suggesting that she bring them back to the committee, and then after we look at them, we move them up to council. That's what I'm
So
asking.
go back, have it,
She'll make the changes that you've made, you suggested, and what else was there? Yeah, and then we have a document that we can, instead of debating it on the floor of the chamber, let's debate it here, or certify it so it goes up the food chain.
Chair?
Can
Get
I
your
throw
changes done.
another-
Councillor
Sorry,
McKinnon?
Chair. Can I throw another, I guess, little wrench in it? Would it work for the first Monday of the month, or first Tuesday, whichever night that we go with the regular council meeting? Could we have a committee as a whole, say on Thursday? Could we hold 2 within 1 week, and then just give the next week a break before going back into the second council meeting? Would that work?
I see it as a staff issue, because staff has to prepare these reports and resolutions, so, that's, we're backing up the system.
I think we'd need a little bit of time in between meetings myself.
Okay, yeah, no, I just
I think that a couple of day turnaround's a little
myself.
too much,
Yeah, okay,
I would
yeah,
think.
no, that's fine. So I agree with what everybody's saying. Let's discuss it at committee again before we bring it to council.
Okay, all right, so have a go at it there, CAO Eleanor, and you can come back with a revised document, and then we'll move it out, we'll bring it to the next committee level, next committee meeting. Good? Thank you for the great discussion, folks, on that topic. All right, moving on to the agenda. Advocating legislative change to enable a greater housing supply. Sue or Eleanor? Eleanor. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So this is really just an information item for the committee to look at. The intent is to send a letter to the Premier asking for some key changes to the Planning Act. The reason why these requests are being made is we have different levels of government, so the federal government and the provincial government are coming forward with different ways to partner and lots of initiatives to go forward in terms of increasing housing and working on solving this housing crisis. But there are some key parts of the Planning Act that are preventing us from being able to produce the amount of housing we need in a timely fashion. So we've drafted a letter there that explains what some of the obstacles are, but it really comes down to three key areas that involve how official plans and bylaws are required to be approved by the minister. And sometimes those approvals are taking 6 months to over a year to get those in place. So if you could imagine you're a developer, you've managed to get all the approvals in place from the municipality, and then it has to be sent off to the province. So in some cases, some developments are taking years just to get to a final approval where they can move it. So the point is to ask that either due to Charlottetown's size and the planning team and the legal resources that we have, that it not need to go through ministerial approval, or that the minister approves plans or enables us to move forward with implementing the plans, and if there's anything found in the plan that needs to be amended, then come back and amend it, so we don't put a stop to the business that needs to go on in terms of housing. The other challenge is, under the Planning Act, is the ability to appeal anything from anywhere on the island, essentially. In our case, this has led to situations where, a couple of situations. One where people can just take on appeals because they feel it's almost like a hobby to appeal these things. The other scenario is where we have projects where it has an affordable housing component, but because it was appealed and the appeal took so long that the financial case for the housing component didn't make any sense anymore by the time the appeal was done. So by having the appeal legislation set up the way it is right now, it has the ability to kill housing projects before they even get off the ground.
Right.
It also makes it very difficult as a developer. When you go to develop a piece of land, you do a pro forma on that land to understand, okay, well, how many units can I get out of this? How long will it take to development? How much do I need to invest, borrowing money, and all these kind of things. When you don't have definite timelines, it makes investors very nervous about lending you money, and it makes it very hard to plan out the success of your project from start to finish. So putting some stronger controls into the appeals legislation can help resolve this. And then the final area that we're advocating for change is through the Island Regulatory and Appeal Commission. Right now, the commission, there's no timelines in terms of when a decision has to be made with them. So in other areas within this country, not everyone has an appeals commission like we have. Others have subdivision and development appeal boards, which are within the municipality, quasi-judicial boards within the municipality. And they're regulated to essentially have, if an appeal is made, they have to make it. They have to have a hearing within 30 days, and then a decision rendered within 15 days from there. So start to finish, your appeal should take 45 days. That's being thrown out as an option for government, but if that's not something as a route of where to go, the other options include putting timelines such as 45 days on IRAC as it is right now, that decisions have to be within 45 days. We also have another suggestion in there as well, that an appeal board specifically for housing projects be created, and only for housing projects, and of course they have a timeline of 45 days in there as well. This would significantly improve some of the challenges that developers are dealing with, as well as municipalities. We pay a lot of legal fees when these appeals happen. It costs our time, costs money of this municipality and taxpayers as well. So the letter of advocacy looks at these three different topics. Currently, the way it's drafted right now, it's focused on municipalities of 10,000 and more, simply because we're asking for the minister not to have to sign off. And part of that argument is that the teams within this municipality have enough planning and legal that they don't need a redundant level of approval to have to go through. So far, we've had Summerside has signed off on and made some changes into the letter as it is right now that's been shared. It's also with Stratford, who's actively reviewing the letter, and we're awaiting changes from there. The other piece that makes this letter a little different than just the municipality signing off is we're inviting those who support this letter to sign off as well. And this is a chance for us to work alongside the developers on a cause for advocacy where we need to see change. So the developers will be invited to sign off, as well as other associations and agencies that need, that are working to try and solve the housing crisis.
Right.
I'm happy to answer any questions that you have.
Well, I like it. I think it's good collaborative work. I think in speaking with developers, this would be something that red tape and clogged processes has not been working in their favor. So I think anything that we can do, I mean, we're looking at the Housing Accelerator Fund, so anything that we can do to accelerate this process, I think is good for all parties involved. And I certainly agree with and support the nature of it. I did have a couple of questions, and just clarifying, on page 82, it says limit appeals of the official plan to adjacent municipalities, school boards, and other government bodies. And then 4, it says limit appeals on subdivision applications to the applicant, adjacent municipalities, school boards, and other government bodies. What does that mean exactly? Or could you clarify that for me? I'm not entirely clear on that.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So that just means that right now, anybody can appeal
Right.
anything. So the official
Frivolously or
plan-
not.
What this recognizes is that an official plan goes through a massive public process in terms of engaging the community and getting community feedback. So making it adjacent municipalities, so say we passed an official plan and it had some sort of impact on our neighboring municipality and we didn't address it, this enables a municipality to appeal this plan, appeal our plan, if that in case happened. But the point of a planning process is not to have that. Like, you include your neighbors and you circulate, so you can come to consensus what happens along the boundary. So that's what that is. The school boards, again, it's maybe the municipality in planning didn't consider what schools should look like, so the school board wants to be able to appeal a certain aspect of the plan because they feel the schools should be cited in there somewhere. And then other government bodies, it's lesser so Charlottetown, but say the province owned a lot of our roads that went through town, and we were planning something that impacted their plan for roads. It gives them a mechanism to appeal what's in the plan. So it's taking it away from the individual and just giving it to the larger bodies to be able to appeal if needed.
Okay. And that would apply to the official plan and to the subdivisions.
2 subdivisions, yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And just on page 83, I'm just wondering, just wording semantics, to limit ability to appeal development permit to residents agreed within 100 meters. Should that say within a 100-meter radius of the subject lands?
Thank you,
Just-
Mr. Chair. We can add radius in there. Sure.
Yeah, just in there.
So, Mr.
Mayor
Chair,
Brown or Deputy Mayor Mayor Brown, go ahead.
I've looked at this letter, Mr. Chair, and had discussions with our CAO. The history behind IRAC is that prior to IRAC, there was PUC, Public Utilities Commission, but Public Utilities Commission didn't hear any appeals on land use. It was only on utility matters. So if anyone wished to take the city to task on a decision that was made by council regarding a development, would have to go to provincial Supreme Court. So, as you know, Robert Joe Giz introduced the whole concept of the Island Regulatory Appeals Commission, a jurisprudence body to hear appeals on land use, utilities, and so forth. Utilities is only restricted to maritime electric, not to water and sewer, water and wastewater and other utilities. So if someone wishes to if we create this, an appeal board just for housing, that's recommended in this report or in this submission from our CAO. They could make the request, and then if there's an appeal on our appeal at this municipal appeal board, then they would have to go to provincial court, or provincial Supreme Court. Now, that's my only concern, is that we're setting up barriers for anyone that wishes to appeal the process. So I'm just asking through the chair to the CAO to clarify it, what I'm asking.
CAO Elner?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think I understand what you're asking. So if you're talking about appeal boards within, like the subdivision and development appeal board within a municipality, so in other legislation, the way it works in other jurisdictions is the only thing that can get appealed out of there, which is the same thing that you could appeal here out of IRAC, is something on a point of law. That something wasn't followed in that process accordingly, in terms of hearing or whatever that step was. That's when it would end up in the court system, the same as now. But in terms of an appeal body within a municipality versus at a rec, it's the same function that they're both serving. One is just within a municipality, one is external. In other jurisdictions, what they've done is they've broken out, you have a subdivision and development appeal board within the municipality, but if it involves any crown land, highway, anything to that effect, it does go to an outside appeal body. So they have broken it up that way instead. So if it's something simple and local, it's handled at the local level. If it involves something government, or government's appealing based on some of their laws, then it would go to the separate body outside, which is another level of detail, but we didn't put that in here. We figured they could look into that option if they were interested to figure out how it worked.
Go. Did you want to follow up?
Just to follow up, Mr. Chair, as I said to our CAO, if Sean Fraser and his ministry was looking for something from the city of Charlottetown to speed up the process, to develop housing, public, social, affordable housing, this is definitely a positive move, that it does allow developers and those who object to the development a time frame that they must work within. Again, those time frames, like getting IRAC to listen to an appeal in 45 days, that could be a challenge, and quite a challenge. So I think overall, this is a good step forward in addressing that housing accelerating funding request, that we are trying to make things work, not only municipally, but provincially, working with our collaborative partners at the provincial level. And just one final point, Mr. Chair, when you talk about land on Prince Edward Island, it's not the same as Alberta, Ontario. Land goes back to Samuel Holland, when this island was divided into 67 lots, and it's always been a huge struggle. Just remember, our Premier Angus MacLean made it a request during the constitutional talks back in 1980 that property rights have to be in the Constitution. It's always been dear to our heart. So I can imagine if some of these changes are made, and we foresee some of our public meetings where someone steps up to the mic and we ask, are you within the 100 meters, or are you outside of the 100 meters? There'll be some, challenges, but that's the process or the life that we live as elected officials. Thank you, CAO.
Councillor McKinnon, do you have anything you want to add?
No, I'm good. Great discussions.
All right. Good to send off. Oh, sorry, Deputy Mayor.
Just a comment. I would think that the trickle-down positive effect to this would also trickle down to the residents in terms of the housing crisis, even from a personal perspective, because if we streamline these processes, then the shovels get in the ground a lot quicker. So that's a great thing for the residents of Charlottetown as well. It's just a comment. Thank you.
Okay. All right, last item on the agenda, tartan. Proposed tartan for the city of Charlottetown. So I'll pass it over to Sue Fraser. And
Thank
take
you,
it away,
Mr.
Sue.
Chair. Thank you. This particular item came through the mayor's office in that there was a request, inquiry made around whether or not the city of Charlottetown had an official tartan. And that turned into an actual bit of research for an outside group looking into what would be a proper tartan for the city of Charlottetown. They kind of just took it on themselves. It wasn't anything initiated by our corporation. And you can see in the report details that the group did their own little bit of research on the namesake of Charlottetown, Queen Charlotte Sophia of England, and the official coat of arms for the city, and the prominent colors that represent the city, and incorporated that into what they're proposing as an official tartan. The mayor's office staff declined the opportunity to come in and act as Vanna White and actually present the.
We'll have to have
You
a
can
chat
do
with
it.
them
You can
later.
do it.
So it is here for people to see. So as you can see, Mr. Chair, the recommendation is that council would support adopting this particular tartan as it's been presented. And then if required, I'm not absolutely convinced that this needs to happen, but if there is a specific agenda around how we would incorporate the tartan into our corporation, then we would have to do some friendly amendments to the visual identity policy because there's no acknowledgement of a tartan in our policy document now. So we would have to add that in as one of our symbols as well. I think the intent was they wanted to create an opportunity for people coming to visit Charlottetown, or when we're going out and about, that people could actually purchase something that's made with this tartan pattern. So I think that's basically the essence of it. I don't think it's anything complicated, but that's what the ask was, is that we would actually adopt this as the tartan for the city of Charlottetown.
Yeah. Is this in a digital file? Because we didn't get any. Can this be shared digitally, or could that be?
I know that's how it came into the mayor's office. I'm not sure what
Hard copy?
preceded that as far as the work that was being done. I suspect that this is not something that we could actually turn into a digital piece of work at this point in time.
Could we have a hard copy? Could that be placed in our mailboxes? I'm just looking at the history behind this and the additional information that comes with it. I think it's very well done, just like to maybe there is a piece of information for us all to have.
Absolutely. What I can do, Mr. Chair, is I can take that information and capture that in an updated report to go to council, as
Yeah.
well as take some photos of the work to
Yeah.
include with the report if you wish.
That'd be great.
Yeah, certainly.
Yep. Lovely.
And Mr. Chair, just to give credit where it's due, I know the Councillor for Ward 1, Deputy Mayor Yankoff, was working in collaboration with Northern Waters Knitwear and Tartan Shop, so I think that she deserves the credit for spearheading it. I know that we worked with Jackie in the mayor's, at the office of the mayor, worked with the councillor from the area, Deputy Mayor Yankoff, so let's give her credit for where she's pushed this, and it's all about inclusion, diversity. So diversity just doesn't talk about our new Canadians; it talks about our traditional Canadians, Irish, Scottish, English, and so forth. So I think this is a good step forward. Yeah. So again, thank you, Deputy Mayor Yankoff, for pushing this forward, and now we have something to follow up on.
Yep.
Chair?
Go ahead, Deputy Mayor.
Just, if this is something that, once it proceeds to council, this might be a great example of something that could be on our Bang the Table site. You know, they talk about naming snowplows and things like that. This might be a fun thing for people to have that community engagement, to even see this tartan on that Charlottetown Hall site. When you see other communities, that's what they do. They engage the community with things that, you know, are fun, not necessarily always, everything doesn't have to be very, very serious, if that's the right term for it. Just throwing it out there.
Yep. Thanks, it's a great idea. All right. So that'll just be moved on for public consumption, and we'll get that in for information for us. All right, new business? Any new business arising today?
Just,
Nope.
does this?
Deputy Mayor?
Does this, is this going on to council? No, not tonight, I know
tonight,
that. But
no.
but it is, we're just, saying
Yeah,
that we
we
agreed to move.
we agreed to move it on.
I'll move to move this on to council.
So we have to make a formal motion on that? Sorry, okay. My apologies. So moved by Deputy Mayor Yankoff that we move on to council the approval of the official tartan as outlined here today. Words to that effect.
And
Moved by Deputy Mayor
and I'll
Yankoff.
second the resolution that was proposed by the councillor from the area, Deputy Mayor Yankoff, and I
Okay.
don't know.
All those in favor?
No, can I just speak to the motion?
sorry, go
I wanna
ahead.
Speak to the motion there, Mr. Chair.
Yes.
Always give me an opportunity just to say a few words. Thank you.
Okay.
No, again, I want to repeat that I recall attending the Robbie Burns celebration for the Scottish Association here in Prince Edward Island, and they talked about their involvement in our community as an inclusive, diverse place to live, and that their ancestry was not, always upfront with their new Canadians. And I said, well, as a representative in the office of the mayor, I want to make sure that we'll try and make every effort to include our traditional and new Canadians in our mosaic of the city of Charlottetown. So it's about equity, inclusivity, diversity, and I appreciate that we're at that point with this recognition of our official tartan. Thank you.
All right. Councillor McKinnon, any discussion on the motion? Councillor McKinnon? We might have lost him. All right. All right, all those in favor of the motion? Motion carried 2-0. Councillor McKinnon is somewhere in the cyberspace there. So anyway, we'll go with the official count of 2-0. Motion to adjourn. Moved by Mayor Brown, seconded by Deputy Mayor Yankoff. Thank you for attending, and have a great day.